Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Thursday night. We have a third member, finally. Will Manis is back with us alongside Ralph Larry. Will, first off, did you win your softball game on Tuesday? Was it well worth it, I should say, to miss out on an opportunity to be on here tonight?
I did. We had 2 games. We got the sweep. The second game we won 24-4. Quite the rout.
What was your final line? What were you?
Oh man, I can't remember. I know I lined out to right field, 1 at bat. I walked. You can walk in slow pitch softball, believe it or not. And I take my walks. You know, everybody knows I'm a big on base percentage guy. I think on base percentage is one of the more important offensive stats. So I take my walks. I think I have more hits than Matthew, and that's all that matters.
That's all. I guess that's all that matters. Well, listen, we're gonna get right to it. Ralph, first off, how's your week going? You had fun today? You had a good day today?
Oh yeah, I had a terrific day today, Bryce. I'm just ready for the week to be over with. Really am.
Yeah, it's almost time for the weekend. That's what we love here. We do have a question of the day, came courtesy of Matthew Lang, so we're going to roll right into it. So what player do you think of when you see this logo? And we're going to bring it up right here as Matthew. Ralph, you go first. What player do you think of when you see this logo?
Josh Beckett.
You're going Josh Beckett.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Josh Beckett. No, Will, I'll put you on the screen, all three of us. Who do you think of when you see this old retro Florida Marlins logo? Oh,
man. I'm going to go, some people call him Mr. Marlin, but I don't think that's really caught on. Jeff Conine. Spent a lot of years with the Florida Marlins.
Jeff.
I also, this is kind of cheating, but I also think of legendary Marlins manager Jack McKeon when I see that logo.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that. I got 2. Can I give 2? I'm going to go 2. With I'm going with Juan Pierre.
Okay.
That's a good
and
one.
then Dontrell Willis is my other one.
Oh.
Those yeah.
Oh, you gotta throw the comment up there from Zach.
McKinnon. Ooh,
that is
Mr. Rodriguez blocking Will Manis' face.
That's good.
That's fine. That's fine.
No, that's a really good one. Ralph, we named is well 2. Worth it. We named 2. Who's your second? When you see that logo.
God, he spent so many years. It feels like he's been with this team now for a long time. But Miguel Cabrera, that's another one also.
That's a good one.
He's where he started his career out, and it feels like he's been in Detroit for forever now. But he wouldn't be where he is now without Florida.
Do you guys miss the teal uniforms? Because they had those Florida Marlins uniforms are way better than what the Miami rebranding of is, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, without a doubt. We also cannot forget the Braves franchise hit streak leader, Dan Uggla, with those Marlins uniforms. He has a franchise record.
I was there at one of the games where he extended that hit streak.
Matthew Lang, Mike Lowell all day. AJ Burnett's another one that you could throw out there. Ralph, I know you said Josh Beckett. Juan Encarnacion is another one that you could throw out there. Luis Castillo. People often remember Jose Reyes playing the Mets, but Luis Castillo, when he went up to New York, how
about Edgar Renteria? Early 2000s.
Alex Gonzalez.
How about Mike Piazza?
A week. For like a week.
Like 6 days. It counts.
He was still a Marlin at one point.
That's right.
Matthew Lane, 2007 World Series MVP. Mike Lowell, he is sorry.
Doesn't count.
Did we say Gary?
Doesn't count. Mike Lowell was a Red Sox at that time. Doesn't count.
Gary Sheffield? That's okay.
Gary Sheffield.
That's nice.
And how
Very
about,
fantastic logo.
One more, and it's because we've mentioned his name multiple times. How about Jack Leiter's father, Al Leiter?
Ooh. Yes. Very nice. We're going to talk a little bit MLB draft coming up in the next couple of weeks because it is very, very, very soon. But listen, Will, I don't know if you know, but Ralph and I have sort of abbreviated our shows ever since the show, and I haven't actually been on a show with you since kind of the one that I produced behind the scenes of a broadcast.
Yeah.
So, Will,
I want to know. I want to know if anybody's watching. Did you watch that show?
I'm sorry.
Did you even watch the show? Because that show was quite the adventure. Bryce, you gave me the opportunity to fully host for the first time. I'd never done that before, and that was.
And I left you out to dry too, because like if there was a time when I was hosting, I was actually behind the scenes. People don't remember. Like I think 10 seconds before I hit the live button on yours, I like cued you into where I was in a broadcast booth and said like waved, and then just gave it right back to you and said hit live, and y'all went. But no, we do appreciate if everyone's tuning in, and it was a ton of fun as well. But listen, let's get right down to the chase because we are kind of doing some abbreviated shows. So just kind of two topics tonight we're going to really cover. Will, you wrote an article earlier on thecrowdedbooth.com. Go check us out over there about this. But kind of the news over on the Plains was TJ Finley to Auburn. So this is going to be kind of a two-parter. What can the former LSU Tiger provide? If people didn't read your article, Will, kind of tell us what can he bring to the quarterback room on the Plains?
Yeah, so this is all really contingent on the SEC passing their new transfer rule that's been proposed where a kid doesn't have to sit out going from one SEC school to another. Because if that's the case, then Finley, he didn't redshirt last year. I guess he could get a red shirt this year from Auburn, and he would just sit in the system for a year and learn it. But at bare minimum, if he's eligible to play, he can be a true backup quarterback that Auburn did not have. I know Grant Loy's, he's been around a while. He's his sixth year, but he's not challenging Bo Nix. Demetrius Davis, talented freshman coming in, but that's a lot to put on the shoulders of a freshman. And you can bring in a guy in TJ Finley who started 5 games last year for LSU. Some were good, some were bad. The one against Auburn, where Auburn fans got to see him up close and personal, he was not good. He just wasn't good. But TJ Finley, he's going to come in. He'll challenge Bo Nix. I don't expect him to be on the field much. I don't expect him to unseat Bo Nix as the starter. That's a tall task of any quarterback to come in and unseat a multi-year starter anywhere. So week 1, I think it'll definitely be Bo Nix. But if Bo continues to struggle, I wouldn't be surprised to see Finley out there and maybe even get a start or two. You're muted.
Kind of brings to the next question that I have, but is there any scenario, I guess, and you kind of alluded to it, where Finley does take that quarterback one role? Look, Auburn desperately needs a backup quarterback. No offense to Grant Loy, but you rattled off – we were playing golf the other day. You rattled off his stats during his time with Bowling Green, and it's just not
Bowling Green, just 6 touchdowns to 14 interceptions, and that's at Bowling Green.
Our friend Zach's got a comment for you right here. Save Auburn from the rollout king.
Hey, look, you can call Bo Nix the rollout king, but if TJ Finley's in there, he'll be the rollout king too, because that Auburn offensive line needs work.
So it does need work, and that kind of brings back to what I was saying. Is there any scenario where Finley takes the quarterback one role? Is it an injury? And let's say he does injury. Could you see Finley be successful in this style of offense?
Without a doubt. I think this pro-style offense that Harsin and Bobo are installing is perfect for TJ Finley. He's a big guy, 6'5", 6'6", 240, but he's not a runner. He's not going to run much. He'll run a little bit. He had a few rushing touchdowns for LSU, but he's a pocket passer in every sense of the word. He's not going to blow anybody away. He'll run somebody over before he'll run past them. I don't think this offense asks a lot of quarterbacks to run, even though Bo Nix, we know he can run. That'll be a wrinkle added to the offense, but I think the base offense that Brian Harsin likes to run doesn't ask the quarterback to run a whole lot. And TJ Finley, he can make every throw. You see big young quarterbacks like him, they can all throw the fastball. He can throw the fastball, he can throw the deep ball pretty well. But he's got really good touch. He can throw those drags underneath. He can throw that slip screen to the running back, different passes that you need a quarterback, especially in this offense, to throw a pro-style offense. It's probably going to throw a lot. Auburn's going to be run first without a doubt, but they're going to throw plenty, and it'll be slants. It'll be in routes. It'll be post routes. It'll be drags. They're just going to do anything to get playmakers the ball.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, Will. You need to get your playmakers the ball. Auburn has kind of struggled at sometimes. They've had the playmakers, but it's kind of facilitating the offense, much like you did in pickup basketball last night. So there's shout out to Will.
Yeah,
on the court.
I think this quarterback position. You watch film of Boise State under Brian Harsin. I think that's a perfect comparison. The quarterback is the point guard. It's an old school West Coast pro style base offense. A lot of underneath, a lot of slants, a lot of drags. They'll throw in screens. Brian Harsin loves trick plays too, so you got to have that big arm as well.
You have to have the big arm, and Ralph, I'll ask you this too, and I want to go to you first and then back to Will because I think this is a really interesting question. I think there's one player on the Auburn offense that might be the best player that we think, and he's lining up at tailback. But to you, Ralph, what is the strength of this Auburn offense? You had to pick one position group, and then we'll go to Will next.
Well, I think you just said it earlier, the running back group. I think the running back group is the most complete group, honestly. Obviously, the offensive line's still kind of banged up, and they're still figuring out who they are, honestly. Now, you bring in TJ Finley, that really beefs up that quarterback room, and I know that's a huge thing for Auburn fans they want to hear is, some people don't like Bo Nix. They want someone different than Bo Nix, but you're stuck with a really talented quarterback, and he just needs a better coaching staff, and I think he's got one now. I still think with the running back room, I give it the strength for Auburn this year. If they can figure out the offensive line, they could be really dangerous with that.
Yeah, I think they could be dangerous as well. Will, is it the same for you? Is this the strength, or is there another group that kind of, when you look at that depth chart, it kind of pops off the page for you?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with Ralph. The running back room is actually relatively thin, especially with scholarship running backs. You've got Tank Bigsby, who's a monster. He's a 3-year player without a doubt. He's got 2 more years at Auburn, and hopefully Auburn can maximize that. Behind him, you got Sean Shivers, and then you have a guy returning to the running back position in Devin Barrett. He hasn't played running back in a couple of years. He moved to defensive back 2 years ago, didn't get on the field much, and ended up opting out last year. So he's coming back to provide some depth. But I think the wide receiver room is actually the strength of the offense. It's got plenty of depth. You've got Xavion Capers, who missed spring with injury, but he should be 100% ready for fall camp. You've got our local guy, Kobe Hudson, probably going to be receiver number 2. And then Javarius Johnson, who really came on in spring. He's a speed slot guy. Game very similar to Anthony Schwartz. He's not as fast, which that's asking a lot. Somebody to be as fast as Anthony Schwartz. But the receiving room's got depth. They've got talent. I think the receiving room is definitely the strength.
Yeah, I think what both of you pointed out is very two talented groups. That means skill positions are aplenty, and there for Auburn, it's going to be kind of the question what it has been for the Tigers offense here in recent years is, can the quarterback deliver the ball there? Can the offense hold up? I think that's really, really big. I think that we do have confidence in Wendell Barfield. I'd clamp all of them, he says. No one's getting past Wendell Barfield out there on the field.
Wendell does have quick feet.
Wendell does have quick feet, and he's made his presence felt in the Turkey Bowl here in the local Columbus area over the past couple of years, and he's been very, very good. I want to ask you this real quick before we move on is – we're going to get into kind of a podcast and slash thing we're going to be doing where we're going to break down kind of the schedule. But Auburn's got an interesting schedule coming up, and I think that you see this offense? Just we'll go in. We'll let you do a full breakdown of Auburn here soon, but just briefly, I mean, is this a team that they don't have a lot of time to gel necessarily with the schedule that they have? Is that a concern for Auburn fans, or is this something where you feel like since they had the full spring practice, they're going to have summer and full fall camp? Maybe it's not necessarily maybe concerns that they may have had last year.
Yeah, I'm not concerned with gelling. I'm just concerned with the talent and the matchups on the field. I think if you look at win total over unders, if you're a betting person, it's probably going to sit about 7.5, and I think that's very fair. You lay that schedule. I think that's doable for Auburn to get 8, maybe steal a 9th win, because there's a couple other teams that we think are going to be good that are on Auburn's schedule that we don't know 100% yet how good they'll be. And we really don't know how good Auburn's going to be because Auburn, totally new offense, totally new defense. And it's just a matter of how that talent that's already there fits those systems that are being installed. And I think they fit pretty well. And I think the coaching staff has brought in players that can play right away and can really fit with their styles.
Well, it's going to be a ton of fun to discuss Auburn throughout the entire summer. Obviously, June 1st is going to be – we're 4 days away from official visits, kids being able to take those, which has been a very, very long while since we've been to allow that. Zach, I want to get to you before we head to our commercial break. 8-4 will be A+ for Harsin, honestly, with what he's taking over. With what he's taking over and the schedule that they have in front of him, Zach, I think that's a very good estimate. Zach's been on the show. Will, Zach is an Auburn graduate, so he's there with you.
Okay.
He loves it. And Zach, we appreciate you tuning in. We are going to talk, though, kind of later on in the next couple of weeks of kind of where we would go if we had a Crowded Booth game day van. We'll say van, and we got to pull up to any site week by week. We're going to kind of detail where we would go because, guys, I was listening to some podcasts and looking at the college football season. We're about 99 to 100 days away right now, depending on if you're, what game you're looking at on the schedule. And I'm telling you one thing, Will, and Ralph and I talked about this, Will, this college football season, this is the perfect schedule that we're about to have for a year where we didn't get full fans, where you had all this stuff going on. We're expecting 100% capacity across the board for all these stadiums. I mean, it's a loaded schedule, non-conference and conference schedule. I mean, there's about 3 or 4 games that we're really going to have to pick between. And I know Auburn has some big ones on the docket.
Without a doubt, every year.
Without a doubt.
What you sign up for.
One of the toughest schedules. We're going to go to commercial. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the Braves, who are going to be opening up a crucial 3-game series against the Mets on the road. And yes, they will have to face DeGrom, but hopefully it goes better than the Palm Beach Cardinals did last weekend.
Cook's Place began serving our signature hot dogs in 1985 from a cart on Broadway. We still serve the best hot dogs and scrambled dogs in town at the corner of Moon and Miller Road and at the landings. Our friendly staff won't let you leave hungry. Come in and eat to the beat with our 50s jukebox. Cook's Place, fast service, great people, awesome food. What are you waiting for?
We're back here on the Crowded Booth Live. We appreciate you tuning in on a beautiful Thursday evening, and we are going to get right into some Atlanta Braves conversation. Bryce Coon, Will Mannis, and Ralph Leary on either side of me here. And guys, Atlanta's playing better as of late. They had a 4-game win streak snap last night, and what I know Ralph was asleep for, but actually, Will, after we got done playing basketball, I was like, I didn't even know the game was still going on.
I didn't either.
They were in a 2-hour and 15-minute rain delay. And the big reason was because both Boston and Atlanta had an off day today. But nonetheless, they split with Boston, one of the better teams in baseball up to this point in the season. They took advantage, and Will, I know you said this. Well, they did all that against the Pirates. I guess the good thing is they took advantage of a bad team. They did exactly what they were supposed to. Mm-hmm. They exercised some offensive demons, we'll say, that had been kind of lacking all season long against the Pirates. But now they come into this weekend, and I think there's a couple key talking points we want to talk about right now. And the biggest thing is, with Ozuna out, what does the lineup 1 through 9 look like? Now, Will, I know you've had this conversation where Ozuna hasn't been the most productive. The power numbers are kind of there, but I guess the consistency hitting. He's going to be out 5 to 6 weeks. So the natural thought process, and Ralph, will start with you, is would you move Austin Riley up into that slot? I mean, he's doing so well in the 5-hole right now, but if you need someone to provide protection to Freeman in the 3-hole, Ralph, could you see them moving Riley into that slot?
Well, I think they should move Albies back up there to the front. I think he needs to be hitting 3, and I think Austin needs to be hitting 4. I think Austin's probably the best power hitter right now on the team, obviously, besides Acuna, but you're not moving Acuna from leadoff right now. But yeah, with Ozuna out, you need some more power behind Freeman. I think having Ozzie then Austin Riley back to back, I think that's a solid 1-2 punch right behind the 2 best hitters on your team right now. So you're muted again.
I think it would be something if they want to experiment with putting Albies behind there. The only thing is that I think Albies, his consistency this year has been, and the whole Braves lineup outside of really Austin Riley and Ronald Acuna Jr., it's been this, fluctuation of up and down. Will, how do you think this lineup looks? And the biggest thing, we didn't get to see it last night because of how late they got the results back on Ozuna from Tuesday night's game. They didn't have time to make a roster. People were like, well, I don't understand that. Okay, well, there's a lot of – you can't, just calm down, okay? And another thing I'd like to point out, because when you have been on the show, we've been talking about this a lot, Ralph and I, just the fan reaction. Chris Martin was not available for Tuesday's game against Boston, and fans were mad. And didn't understand it turns out he had his COVID vaccine. He was just feeling under the weather. Like, things happen with these players. Like, they're not just robots that you throw out there and pitch. But anyways – we could beat a dead horse with that conversation. But for you, Will, I mean, how do you see this lineup constructing? Because obviously Adrianza is an option they put out there in left field. You have to believe that I don't know how necessarily I feel about putting Austin Riley back out in left field. There's been a lot of talk of could they bring up Orlando Arcia, who can play some third base and has raked honestly, for the first time in his entire career, is raking right now in Gwinnett.
Yeah.
But Will, how do you see this lineup kind of lining out? Maybe is it moving Riley up, or what do they do?
Man, this Braves lineup is tough because I've thought about it all year. It's really top heavy. I think 7, 8, 9 has kind of just been a black hole, which, and it's not to the fault of anybody. I mean, you have Pache and Contreras down there who are trying to learn how to hit major league pitching when they haven't even really figured out how to hit AAA pitching. But their gloves are so good, and the Braves need them at the big league level. I don't know. I kind of, because you want to lengthen the lineup out. I think you kind of really shuffle it up, especially if you want to protect Freddie. I mean, I know it's hard to move Ozuna out of the one spot, Acuna out of the one spot. I think you might drop him to 2 and drop Freddie down to 3. I'm a huge proponent of Freddie Freeman batting third. I know he's hit the ball well hitting second, but to me, he's your prototypical number 3 hitter. And I would love to see the Braves get him back there and get a couple more on-base guys in front of him to give him more RBI chances. But I don't know who could bat leadoff for the Braves other than Acuna. But it's always kind of felt weird to me with Albies batting in the middle of the order like he has been this year. I would love to see him in the 2 spot, or maybe Dansby in the 2 spot, because the past couple of years when Dansby's batted second, he's hit the ball really well. But I like him toward the bottom too because it lengthens out the lineup. I don't know. I like Freddie 3. And I would like Riley 4 to add him that protection. I think it's time. Riley's been hitting the ball well. He's been seeing it well. Give him a shot. The time, if there's any better time to do it, it's now when he's hitting the ball well. I think he's your future cleanup hitter regardless. Mm-hmm. So why not put him there now?
Yeah, this was the argument that we had. Obviously Atlanta towards the end of spring, or the start of spring training, the argument was sign Justin Turner. Well, I believe, and we all believe, that's what Austin Riley can become, and he's shown that. And this is a big difference. A lot of people say, well, he was so good when he came up, but then they started throwing the slider and he couldn't hit it. Well, he's making adjustments, and he is watching pitches.
Not only could he not hit it, he was chasing sliders.
Exactly.
That's the big one. He's laying off of them now.
He's laying off, and he's watching pitches with confidence. He's not looking back towards the umpire and second guessing. Like, he's watching a fastball right on the outside corner just miss, and then getting ready for the next pitch. And I think that's what stands out. And you talked about the bottom half of that lineup, Will, and I knew I had heard this somewhere, so I want to make sure I had it correct. William Contreras, while the offensive potential is off the charts, he's only had 60 at-bats at the AA level. That's as high as he got. Yeah. And much to a guy like Brian McCann, who had 50 so at-bats. We know what Brian McCann was offensively, one of the best offensive catchers that the Braves have ever seen come through their franchise. Mm-hmm. So it's just interesting. Contreras is right now, he's holding his own. Now, Pache needs to be in AAA. Contreras is holding his own. Defensively, they're willing to, kind of let him grow into the position. But I do like what you said. It's a little bit top heavy right now. If Dansby, to me, this lineup hinges on Dansby Swanson. If he can start to hit the ball with consistency, which has been a thing throughout his career, he has these hot stretches where he's one of the best hitters in baseball, it seems around the Braves lineup. And then sometimes he looks completely lost. And I think this is what's interesting is that he loves to go opposite field. And so here's Matthew. I don't know if he's, I think this is what he's talking about. He's talking about Dansby. Half of his home runs are opposite field.
It applies to Dansby or Riley.
Yes.
Both of them using the whole field.
Fantastic going opposite field. So that kind of brings the question. If Dansby has the ability, and Matthew comes with another comment, Austin Riley, if Dansby can somehow anchor the bottom of the lineup and he can try to, let's just say, let's bat 260, respectable, 265 while playing great defense, then it makes you feel a little bit more comfortable about 7, 8, 9. But I think with Ozuna going out, the average wasn't there. You've already lost d'Arnaud, who was a key part of the lineup and struggled, but everyone struggled. And honestly, Will, I don't know how you feel about this because, like I said, I haven't been on a show with you in 2 weeks. But to me, numbers across baseball are down, offensively. Yep. It's this real weird phenomenon kind of going on. There's been 6 no-hitters already. So it's just kind of weird.
The baseball storylines just in general this year are weird.
Mm-hmm.
Weird rumors that look to be truth. The sticky stuff with the pitchers.
Oh gosh.
That mess the other day yesterday with the Cardinals and White Sox. It's weird. I think Major League Baseball is messing with the ball to because offense was way off the charts, and I think they've overcorrected it. I know they're going to say, well, we don't make the balls. We hire whatever the company, Rawlings, to make the balls, and they do whatever they want to do with them. They've got influence. Everybody knows they have influence. But something's up. Something's up for sure.
Something's up for sure. And I think for Atlanta's lineup, we're going to have to see how it shakes out the rest of the way, because this could be something very interesting. And I think that this is, this is Matthew. This is what I think we want to happen. Ozzie would make the most sense at leadoff, because let's be honest, Ronald Acuna Jr. is not your prototypical leadoff hitter. He's just thriving in that spot, so you just don't move him. I guess that's kind of the thought, the consensus. But with Ozzie's speed, that's interesting. And then two, you talk right here, if you could have Ozzie hitting in the leadoff spot and then Acuna and Freddie backing that up, that top three is absolutely filthy.
I think the light at the end of the tunnel, so to say, for Ozzie, when he's not batting fourth or fifth, he doesn't have slugger approach. It feels like he's more willing to use the whole field. He's more willing to take his walks. So you put him at 1 or 2, he's going to be a bigger on base guy than he is when he's batting 3, 4, or 5.
Yeah, I think it's his approach, and he struggles hitting from the left side. When he hits right-handed, man, he's raking. I mean, he kills the ball, and you see the splits right there. But I think that's interesting. And guys, that kind of brings us into kind of what I was going to say next about this pivotal stretch coming up for Atlanta. I want to kind of break this down for you guys, because they go to New York this weekend for a 3-game series. They come back home for 7 games against the Nationals, 4, and then 3 at home versus the Dodgers. They go back on the road to Philly, and then they go to Philly, Miami. They come back home for the Red Sox and Cardinals before finishing up with a 3-game road series against the Mets. And then if you want to keep going until you get to July, they go on the road to the Reds and back home against the Mets. So this month of June is very pivotal to see what Atlanta is kind of made of. To me, the only series that you feel like we got to win this series, is Washington, that 4-game series, and then Miami. The other ones we either got to split or take 2 of 3. And I'm going to say sweep, that those would be fun to sweep. But for Atlanta's schedule coming up, I mean, you don't want to say it's make or break time, but I think by the end of June, you're really going to have a good idea of what this team could be looking at the deadline if you don't already. And Ralph, I'll ask you first, how pivotal is this upcoming schedule for Atlanta?
Well, I think you're facing the toughest part of your schedule this year. I mean, you're facing your divisional rivals and probably the best team in baseball. I mean, and that's a 3-series span right there. And after LA, you're facing Philadelphia. So you're playing in the hardest part of your season right now. We've been saying all year that middle of June is where you find your team, and Atlanta needs to find their team this week. If they don't find them out soon, they're gonna be sitting lower in the standings than they are right now. Which, I mean, I say that they're tied for second place, I think, right now. I mean, but the whole NL East has been just shaking up all year. They're just beating up on each other so far. But Atlanta's going to face some good pitching this weekend. They're going to face Taijuan Walker, which they struggled against last time. He got hurt. But then Sunday you're facing DeGrom. So you're looking forward this weekend, and you're looking. You got to hit up. You got to hit the ball this weekend. It's make it or break it really right now for the Braves, and it's you got to make it here.
Yeah, I think that's the tough thing, Ralph, is that when you look, especially today was a perfect opportunity. The Mets had 2 games against the Rockies. They won both games. So they did extend their lead. It's still 2.5 games. Will, for you, this is a situation you have a lot of NL East opponents you're taking on, that it kind of feels like you're taking on the best of the rest. The Reds, who have looked very good. The Cardinals, who with the addition of Nolan Arenado, that offense has gone from what to me is just like this old school type of offense that just somehow manufactures runs to a big superstar. I mean, you already had Paul Goldschmidt, but a bona fide, legitimate superstar in the middle of that lineup. I mean, how important is this for you to kind of see what the Braves are made of?
I think first and foremost, Braves have to get off to a good start. I think they really need to take 2 out of 3 from the Mets and show everybody that they're serious, and especially show the Mets how serious they are about winning the division again. I know it's a tall order facing Taijuan Walker and Jacob deGrom, 2 of the best pitchers, probably their 2 best pitchers this year. It's a tall ask, but you got to show how serious you are. And the thing about the Braves, everybody knows their offense is good enough to hit them. Everybody knows it. So you come out, you make a statement on the road, first series of the year in New York. Just go out and beat them. Take 2 out of 3. Really take it to them. And then Sunday, you're on Sunday Night Baseball against Jacob deGrom. How awesome would that be to beat Jacob deGrom at home on Sunday Night Baseball?
on national television. And two, this is the encouraging stat for Braves fans, I think, and I'm going to get to the comment here just in a second, is when you look down the National League East standings, you have Washington down there at the bottom. They're still only 3.5 back. They've scored 182 runs. Miami just shy of 200 at 198. Philadelphia is at 204. The Mets, who lead the division, are at a -9 run differential, guys, 148 runs scored. Where's Atlanta? Almost 100 more than that at 241. So this offense is putting up runs, and I would say, too, the starters over the past 20 games, we know the bullpen has struggles. We talk about reinforcements on the way. Chris Martin has looked very good since he came back. Shane Green's getting closer and closer coming back. Some guys are starting to settle in, and I think the big one was A.J. Minter, who pitched in out of the first 40 games, he pitched in 23 of them. That's a lot. That's really a lot. Yeah. And so these guys are getting some rest. So I say that to say it really helps when your starters over the past 21 games have gone 6 and 7 innings to really help that bullpen. And so I think if there is something you could take away, the offense is still scoring runs, although it doesn't really feel like that, I guess, necessarily because of the record and what it's shown. But I do think it's right here. But Matty Lang here, if Soroka stays out the rest of the season, A has to make a big splash for a starting pitcher at the deadline. Yes. I'm telling you, I agree with you. In years past, Matthew, I've not been the person, and Will has too. Will and I have both been on the train, and I don't know how Ralph is about it, but I know Will and I have both been on the train of don't sell the farm for a starter. I mean, this year, man,
I gave one exception. I gave one exception. That was Jacob deGrom. That was the one exception. But you have to. Yeah. I think you have to. I mean, you've got the Braves are good enough. And we saw last year, one starting pitcher away after Soroka's injury. You got to go out and get it now. You got to strike while the iron's hot. And, I'm worried. The Braves give out big contracts. They always scare me. Marcell Ozuna, the last one to get one. He's off to a slow start. I know that's, as a fan, overreacting, most likely overreacting. But stake your claim. Show everybody how serious you are that you want to win championships.
Yeah, I think they will make a run.
I think starting this weekend – until probably the trade deadline, the Braves have to show everybody that they want to win. Because I think they've kind of sleptwalked the first 2 months of the season. And I think, luckily, that they're still in it.
Yeah, and I think – so there's two ways I think you can look at that. You can look at it as, like you said, you've sleptwalked. The Braves, to me, have played about if you were giving them a grade, about C-level baseball the whole season, so far. And they're still 2.5 out. I'll be honest with you. I don't think the Mets offense – I mean, like Francisco Lindor, we're joking about him. He's back. At some point he's going to turn it on because he's just that good of he's talented of a player.
Just like Freddie Freeman.
Just like starting to come around. That. Freddie Freeman and Will and I listen to this podcast, and I would encourage you all as well. 755 is real with David O'Brien, Eric O'Flaherty. They had Luke Jackson on.
So
and
Luke
Jackson gave.
I mean, I learned more about baseball listening to them than anybody else.
It's fantastic. Luke Jackson gave the epitome of what it's like inside the bullpen, the mindset. And just some things he talked about. He said Freddie Freeman. I think at the end, Will, he said something like Freddie Freeman's not batting like 240 this year. Like he's going to turn it on, and we've seen that at some points. And I think too, this team is going to be better. It's just how much better, because I think if you look across the diamond, I mean, the Mets are going to start to get some guys back that they had hurting. Obviously, DeGrom comes back. I know Syndergaard kind of got shut down for a little bit, but hey, it's the next month is going to be exciting to watch some Braves baseball and kind of see where they lie. I'll give it to you as we end the show here, Ralph. If there's one pitcher that you would love to have on Atlanta that maybe they can trade for, who would it be? Just off the top of your head.
I mean, there's a lot of ones that you think you would like to have. God, I want to say them, but then again, I don't think it's a lot of people want to run back. Well, Mike Minor, bring him back to Atlanta, because
that's been a popular pick for a couple of years.
Here's the thing, though: you don't want to go to a team that's competing for a World Series this year. So you can't go to LA, you can't go to St. Louis, you can't go to Boston, you can't go to Tampa Bay and pull someone because they're competing this year. They're not going to get one of their decent pitchers. So you go to a team that's not going to compete this year. Obviously they had a really hot start in Kansas City this year, but Kansas City's not going to finish first place in the AL Central with the White Sox and the Twins this year. So Mike Minor, probably their best pitcher, but he's probably one of their other great pitchers they have there. He played in Atlanta. He's a good lefty arm, if I'm correct. I think he's lefty, right? Yeah. It adds an to your bullpen. I mean, to your rotation. I think it's not a bad arm to have.
It's not a bad arm to have. Ralph is speaking to the to the budget-friendly people, though, on that one especially. He's a cost arm. Will, I want to say mine first, and then I want to go to you because I'm afraid you're going to say mine. I'm staying in the AL Central with a team that is currently 8.5 back.
Me.
Okay, I'm staying in a team who's 8.5 back, and I'm going with the right-hander for the Minnesota Twins, Jose Berrios. I think that would be an interesting. I'm going Berrios just because Minnesota has found themselves kind of out of the playoff contention. Berrios is not necessarily the young guy we saw 3 years ago, and Atlanta could part with some prospects, give Minnesota an opportunity to rebuild, while also maybe getting Berrios and maybe getting someone else to kind of help out with some defense as well. I know they have a lot of great players in that middle infield that could help out. And so I'm going Jose Berrios. To me, that's a guy to kind of keep your eye on. He's got about a 3.6 ERA right now, and he could fit in well into this rotation.
I thought you were going to go Kenta Maeda because he has struggled with Minnesota.
Yes.
I think he's going to be your classic change of scenery type guy this year if they decide to part with him. But I'm going to stay in the NL East. I'm staying in division, which is always interesting. You don't really like interdivision trades. And he is a true rental, and I think he is perfect for what the Braves need this year. And he's on a team in the NL East that's currently at the very bottom.
You're not
Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer.
Go for him.
Go for him. Go get it done. Because, look, he's a free agent at the end of the season. Get him on a contending team. Hopefully the Braves are still contending by then. If they're not, they won't be going after him. Soroka will be back next year. He's not going to block. Scherzer won't block anybody. And then, Smiley's on a 1-year contract. Morton's on a 1-year contract. Scherzer pitches well. You feel confident to bring him back for another year or two. He's already here. Kind of learns the team. Max Scherzer.
And I'll tell you, too, there's not a better guy that I would love to have in the playoffs than Max Scherzer with his mentality. We all talk about his. Yeah.
Look, that bulldog mentality we like to talk about, he's more than bulldog. I mean, he goes out there. When it's his turn, especially in the playoffs, nobody's beating him. And he's a true alpha, and I think this Braves rotation needs a true alpha.
Well, hey, we had 3 different kind of guys, and I like that about this. We had Ralph went with the Mike Minor kind of the – I guarantee you the Mike Minor to Braves rumor is going to start it. Ralph might have just started it, and we may see it on Twitter later tonight. I went with kind of Jose Berrios, a younger guy that if he got a change of scenery, we really know. I mean, he's a uber talented guy. And then you went with the vet that would be interesting, man, to have. I'll say this, to go into a playoff series, and let's just say you kept it at 4, because we don't know how is going to bounce back. But you kept it at 4, and that's not counting Smiley, obviously, for good reasons. And you started us off in no particular order, but your playoff rotation is Fried, Anderson, the 2 younger guys, and then Charlie Morton and Max Scherzer. So I don't know if there's many people that would actually beat that rotation in a 7-game.
Telling you, the thing about the Nationals, man, they're not going to stick around. Their offense is not good enough. Their offense isn't good enough outside of Juan Soto. Scherzer will be available, especially with him being a free agent, and probably the entire franchise changing directions.
Matthew is going up the Ralph Leary train here with another low-budget pick, Matthew Boyd from Detroit, and this is feasible for me. Will and I are saying we want to happen. Ralph and Matthew that's probably what's going to happen. It's probably going to be Mike Minor or Matthew Boyd, but those are 2 guys that can add.
Look, AA has that track record. He went out and traded for David Price to get the Blue Jays back in the playoffs. He hasn't made that big splash yet with the Braves. And a lot of people are expecting it to come. I'm expecting him to make one. And sure. And Price was a rental, and he gave up a lot for David Price. So he's done it before.
He certainly did, and he gave up Matthew Boyd for David Price. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Look, and looking back, what's been 5, 6, 7 years since that trade? I don't know who won that trade. Did the Blue Jays win it? Because they didn't really do anything.
Yeah,
Matthew Boyd, I don't even think he's been the Tigers' 1 All-Star because they've just been so bad for so long. Who won the trade?
I don't know. But hopefully Atlanta's hoping next time AA makes that big splash. But you're exactly right. I mean, he's not afraid to make that big splash, so it would be interesting to see kind of how that rolls out. But, hey, we're going to be back next week. We're going to have a podcast coming out, too, talking about us as we enter the countdown to college football season. I told Ralph this, but Will, how excited are you for college football season to be back? I mean, this is going to be this may be the best college football season that we've seen in a long time just because of everything that happened last year. to have it back in this kind of capacity.
Nobody between now and September, nobody asked me to do anything on the weekends because I'm not leaving work. Don't ask me. I got too much college football to watch.
It's going to be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. For Ralph Leary, for Will Mannis, we say so long here as we'll see you next week here on the Crowded Booth Live. And Ralph, what do the people need to do?
Keep